Everyone, this is James Pelton here this morning, 9:30 in the morning here. It's always it's funny trying to work out time zones with everybody from different parts of the world. But yeah, I'm Central Time, 9:30 a.m. here. Happy to have you all here. I have Staked Queen here today. So one thing that I like to do on my channel is as I look around and see different people that I think are interesting and bringing different aspects to the crypto space, I like to just have everybody on. So again, sometimes people think of influencers as like competition to each other, but I don't see it at all that way. Like the more people you can have influencing you, the better and the more helpful that is, I think. So as we're getting going here, waiting for people to kind of hop on, if you're watching this, could you do me a big favor and like the video? That's the number one thing YouTube algorithm looks for, is the ratio of people watching to ratio of people liking. So if you could do that, that would be great. And if you have questions for Staked, is that we'll introduce you and how you should be referenced. But if you have questions for her, please ask those and I'll bring those on. And I'll kind of ask her too what her area of expertise is. I know she's big into health. We had talked about how to vet projects and things like that. So yes, that would be helpful. And if you could comment right now, if you're watching, where in the world you're watching from, that would be very great. But Staked Queen, thank you so much for hopping on. Would you want to start by just introducing yourself and give a little bit of your background?
Hi, thanks so much for having me on. I'm Staked Q, and my background is quite different from my current passion of making videos about crypto projects that I enjoy, which is I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor in immunology. So give me all your questions about COVID, why your back hurts, and what's that sound your jaw makes, and I'm here if you want to discuss any of these worries.
I would love that. I have all sorts of pains and I feel like I'm getting old or something like that because like my neck is hurting all the time now and I don't sleep well. So maybe we'll talk some about that. So definitely, yeah, if you have questions around that. So how'd you find your way to crypto? I mean, that seems like quite the jump there. So how'd you end up here?
Okay, so I am one of those people who owned one full Bitcoin when it was worth $100. And I use it to buy, let's say, a very nice pizza. Let's say it was pizza on the dark web. And that was my first experience with crypto. I then bought my first altcoin was IQ, a very Wikipedia. I don't know if you know the project. They're trying to build the second Wikipedia, and the writers are paid in IQ. So I bought that, and I saw just how much of a return I made on it, and just by holding for a few months. So I was like, oh, that's great. Then I bought one Ethereum for my mom when it was at $500. So that kind of gave me that sort of gratification to carry on and see what happens. But I never thought I would discover such complex things and learn so many things and start to fall in love with the space and the DeFi space, I mean, and what it offers and how important it actually is to us, to society as a whole, because you go into the space. Personally, one thing they don't teach you at school, like I have a PhD, and I was like financially uneducated. They don't teach that in schools, which is really important. They don't teach you what the Federal Reserve is, how it came about, why we have taxes in the first place. So when you get into the space, you get exposed to that and you understand that this is our escape and this is our chance to have actual financial freedom. So that's how I'm here.
Okay, and then how'd you find your way to being an influencer, and kind of how'd you start to gain traction? And is that something you want to grow in? Is you want to be, a bigger influencer, or you're just kind of along for the ride, or what are kind of your thoughts on that?
So it started for fun, pretty much. I actually have a YouTube channel for science, and I did a series called Coffee with My Organs, where in each episode I invite one organ and we have a conversation so that the viewer starts to know about our organs. The first one was the thymus, because a lot of people don't know the thymus exists, but it's our one of the most important organs in your body. It's where your immune system, immune cells become educated. Um, so once I got into the crypto space, I started doing these videos for fun. My first one was on Alif Finance. I was like, maybe this is an easy way to explain to people how projects, what projects deliver, how things work, because education is so very important in this space, which is very intimidating at the beginning. We all started somewhere. For me, it was so scary. I was hyperventilating when I was making my first transaction on Binance. Of course, with someone on the phone, like, is this okay? Is it okay if I press the button? Like, but the transaction shows pending. I don't see. Where's my money? It was like, just wait. It's gonna come. It takes time to process. Okay, but it's not there. Is this normal? So yes, education.
Yeah, we've all been there. That's how we all start. Yeah, you send a little bit, and then yeah, you're so thankful when it finally comes through. Yeah, I'll have to find your YouTube channel. What's I want to find this Coffee with the Organs now. That sounds like something good. What do I need to search to find that?
Um, so I'm having to think whether I should tell you or not, because if you find it's all in Romanian. There's some of the
Oh,
episodes with English subtitles, and I can share that to you. I also have a bit where I do stand-up comedy in English. So that video is full on in English, and it's like stand-up comedy about science, and I'm a mad woman talking to a cardboard cell.
okay. Yeah, I think you are probably the most interesting guest that I've had on my channel. So that's what you'll have to shoot me a DM. Shoot me a DM later with your with some of that stuff. I would love to see that. So, well, talking about crypto, um, one thing that I think that you had mentioned that you have learned a lot about is how you vet projects. So I think that in particular is like a really good thing that people kind of need to learn. Sometimes people vet projects by if an influencer talks about it, it's vetted, and then they are good to go into it. But do you want to just talk about how you vet projects, kind of the process you go through? What do you look for, and talk through some of that?
Yes. So for me, it's the Holy Trinity, the three most important things. Just like how in the body, the whole Trinity is your brain, your gut, and your immune system. They all talk to each other. If one of them fails, they all fail, by the way. And that will be very relevant to sleep issues, because you mentioned that. For a project, it's first of all, it's the team. Second of all is the community, and thirdly, it's the product itself, the project. So what does this project do? We talk about utility, right? Crypto is a zero-sum game at best. We are basically shuffling money around most of the time. It's some money that came into the space, and from one project to another, we're kind of reshuffling it amongst wallets. Now, when you ask what the project does, to me, that is, what service does it provide? Because it takes money out of somebody's wallet, it puts it into somebody's pocket, but what becomes of the original pocket? Does it leave something back, or does it just like scam people basically? So one project I will use as an example, beautiful, beautiful project. It's one of my absolute darlings. It's Finvant, and they are creating what's known as the BioFi ecosystem. Um, and they provide a real service, right? They make your data a lot more secure, and they provide a form of protection in this space. So yes, they will take some tokens from you, but they will put back a lot of value. So that to me is token utility. Token utility is not being able to do buybacks, is not being able to buy more of that token. It's what it puts back when it takes tokens from your pocket. Yes, so if your pocket is still full somehow, that means they provide a real service. So that is the product. Now, the team is also really important. Many projects, I'm big into nodes, right? So when you invest into a node project, what basically happens, what it means is that you trust these people to invest your money better than you can, right? So obviously, I expect the team to be far more experienced than me in the crypto space, a lot more experienced than people in traditional finance. So, and then I expect them to work well together. I look for a team that maybe, I don't know, it's formed by passionate people, what drives them, what's their motivation in the space, how well do they know each other, have they run a business together, have they run a business before. Some teams might do very well even if they just met each other. Maybe they have a very good dynamic, but this is a new space. Nobody knows what the right formula is. So you want some people to know how to sail a ship regardless of the weather. And lastly, it's the community. The community is so important. It doesn't matter how good your product is, how solid your team is, if there's nobody there to hear your story. There was a Faustinian novel that I think is very appropriate as an example for this. A man wanted to be the best bass player in the world, and he traded his soul with the devil. And he became the best bass player in the world, but he never wished for fame, and nobody ever heard his song. So it doesn't matter how good your product is if no one's there to buy it. So I look at the community. This is also a lot down to the team, how good their marketing is, of course, but what kind of investors they attract. Because if you advertise a crazy APY and nothing else, of course, you're going to attract a lot of short-sighted people who just want to make a quick profit. If your product is advertised, is not clearly explained, people are not going to understand the project. And again, you attract investors who might not understand what they're buying into. So it's really important to look at the community. Are they excited? Do they understand what they're buying? And are they going to be with this project no matter, regardless of the weather? So
Wow.
that's how I met the project.
Yeah, no, I think there was a ton of nuggets in there of gold that I think were really, really good. It's cool too when we've never talked before, but we've basically come to kind of the same conclusions on, what you're looking for in these projects. And I really like what you said about if your marketing is towards high APY people, like if that's your main source of marketing is, hey, we have a 400,000% APY, then not only is that probably not sustainable, but the type of people that you're going to get into your project are not going to be people who are there for the long term, but that you're going to attract pump and dump type people. So you might have this big spike, and you might even have a good project. You might have a good use case and things like that, but your marketing has attracted the people who are looking for the 400,000% APY. And so, the first sign of trouble, they're going to be bailing, and then you're going to have a lot of trouble. So I think that's really good to make sure that your marketing as a project is focused on the type of investors that you actually want in your project. So I think that's really good. I like too what you said at the beginning about it's a zero-sum game. And the way that I've kind of started to see it is really all economy is zero-sum game, but there's just a lot of different currencies. So like money is a currency, entertainment is a currency, health is a currency, you know, food is a currency. And so it's all about, you know, what are people like? A lot of people are willing, oh, I'll trade my money for health, you know, and so that creates a business there. Is their currency is health and your currency is money, and you can make an exchange there. The problem in DeFi often is that the only currency is money on both sides of the exchange. And so then it's kind of a weird interaction where you end up with not really anybody benefiting. So I like how you worded that, where you have to kind of start seeing, okay, what other currencies are going to be involved in this transaction, so that if I'm after money, uh, we can trade in a way that's beneficial for both people, and not just, hey, I'm going to steal from this person their money. So very, very cool. I really appreciate that. And then that's exactly what I'm looking for, is team, community, and project. Those are the three things. You need a team that's going to be able to pivot and roll with the punches of what the market's doing. You're going to need a community that follows that team into the different areas they go. And then you need a project that is doing something. So very cool. Yeah, as people have questions, feel free to ask them. We have some people asking about Horde. Maybe I should ask you, what do you consider, what are your favorite projects right now? And I'm not going to ask for your top 10 or top 5, but just say, which ones are you most excited about right now?
All right, so I will get Rune and Dag out of the way and continue with. I mentioned Finvant. There's, of course, Horde. Love the team, love what they're doing. After I listened to their first AMA, I was so interested in learning more. They said we want to be rewarded by the success of our project. I still remember that quote. I was like, wow, yes, I like the sound of these people. Alif Finance, which announced their launch just today. It's going to be on the 30th. Very excited for that project as well, because they are tying into TradFi. They're doing something unique. They're still, I like what you said about currencies. That is such a clean way to explain this. I love that. I'm going to use that in my in the way I visualize things from now on. Thank you for that.
Feel free.
So Alif Finance, they are bringing a different kind of currency, the traditional type of currency. And I'm actually doing a giveaway with them just now for one of their Gimel deities. The NFTs look beautiful. Project Europa is a project I'm excited about. Their currency is entertainment for sure. That's another team that works well together. What I like the know that we love it when when you watch Marvel movies individually, but Avengers is the best one because they all come together. Now Project Europa is doing these tournaments with other projects and has such a dynamic voice in the space. So I really, really am looking forward to what they become. Now I'm like,
Wait,
I'm thinking.
While you're thinking, go ahead and think for a second. Some people are asking about that first one. And so I want to talk for a second about Finvant. So I actually have an AMA with Finvant that I've had recorded for quite a while, but I've not released it yet. And one of the reasons is their BioFi is technically not available in the US at this time. And so it's kind of a bummer for me. But Finvant is looking to lead the way in biometrics on the blockchain. So if you've never checked out Finvant, I think this is probably going to be a big deal here upcoming. But they're basically how they're wanting to take all this biometric stuff, so like your eye print and your thumbprint and your facial recognition and all these things that we don't really want centralized companies to have. Like we don't want Google to have our iPrint, right? Like no, I don't really care that much about security, but I don't even want that. So they're looking to take all this biometric stuff and put it on the blockchain. So there's a lot of things that they're looking to do. So like they have a password manager that is going to be just whether it be iPrint with your computer or something like that. They have a blockchain phone they're looking to do. They're looking at like, voter ID. Voting is one problem that how do you ID yourself and things like that. Well, biometrics would be a good way to make sure there's not voter fraud. So they have a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, some people were asking about that. Someone said, was the first one she mentioned Cinnabon? And no, it was not. Cinnabon is something else. But yeah, Finvant, and I'll have an AMA with them also. So, and then yeah, Alif Finance, I like them too. They're doing a wallet that is supposed to be able to bring all your DeFi projects into one place and show you. And I need that very, very badly. If you've ever seen my, I'll just show you real quick, my spreadsheet that I use to keep track of everything. And eventually I gave up on like keeping track of most things. So it's just a project and the amount I put into it. So yes, excited for that. And then yeah, Project Europa was the third one that she mentioned. So yeah, and I'm excited for them also. And I actually have an AMA with them that we're going to be doing next week also. So are there any others? I know Horde is one that you really like, and they're doing a unique thing with where basically when the price gets down to a certain point, they buy back to keep it in this range. And if it gets up to a certain point, they don't want it mooning. They sell it and keep that price down. And then over time, they raise the bracket so that everybody's in a little bit more profit. And I was, skeptical about how this would work. But if you look at the chart, it's just we're going on a month and a half now, I think, of just this straight right in the bracket. They have a lower return, which is good. And they have, you don't get lifetime rewards, but it tapers down to zero eventually. Eventually, your plot runs out and then you don't get return anymore, which sounds kind of like a bummer, but it's actually good for longevity. So yeah, those four would all be on my top projects as well. So I think we're very like-minded in that. Well, let me go ahead and ask you. And again, if other people have different things they want to talk about, feel free. Don't let me steal the show. I can talk to her in my DMs, but I want to give an opportunity to you guys. What would be your best tips? I don't sleep well. I've not slept well for years and years and years and years and years. And maybe it's this coffee that I'm drinking. Maybe it's my 4 p.m. nap I take every day. Maybe it's all the fast food that I eat. Maybe it's a combination of all these things. But if you were going to give me like 5 tips to sleeping better, what would you say that I would most benefit from?
Okay, 5 tips. To get into that, I'll give you something better. I'll give you that holy trinity. It's everything you need, not just for sleep, it's for everything. Everything boils down to how these 3 things communicate. You have your brain, which you can say is the team. You have your microbiome, which is, some people call it the gut flora, that is officially recognized as one of our organs. That is the community, because you can change that and you can attract a different bacterial community. And you have the immune system. Let's say that's the project that does things, that's your smart contract. So as a matter of fact, your sleep is affected by the communication between all these 3. So if you eat something that causes you inflammation, your gut flora will actually tell your immune system to go to the brain and give you certain thoughts. Now, these thoughts can influence how you sleep. Your gut flora also makes what's known as the muromyl peptide, which is the sleep molecule, which again regulates how you sleep. Your gut flora has their own circadian rhythm, which if it gets dysregulated, they do funny things and dysregulate yours as well. So the easiest way is to fix your diet. That is the simplest thing people can do, is just start eating in a certain way. That is the easiest thing. That is most in our control, what we choose to eat.
So does that mean no more Taco Bell?
Oh no, you can eat all the Taco Bell you want. It depends. This is everyone has to experiment on themselves. Like if you see someone tell you, "Oh, this is the rainbow diet," and if you eat the carrot on Monday and an aubergine on Tuesday, just stop listening. And if anyone tells paleo diet, keto diet, no, none of that. It's not. It's very simple. Eating is very simple, and it's supposed to be simple. Otherwise, we would die. So it's everyone knows what they should be eating. The reason why we don't is because we're used to eating other stuff that we liked at some point, or we were in a certain environment and we got used to that. So your gut flora basically asks, you have like dominant bacterial colonies. So whatever you feed, that thing grows. If you eat a lot of chocolate, you're going to encourage bacteria that feed on chocolate. So when you're hungry, they're going to ask for chocolate because that's what you bred. If you start eating broccoli and make yourself eat broccoli consistently, you're going to be surprised, but you're going to be craving that thing because your gut flora is now changed. And it takes 4 to 5 days for the major changes to happen. So it's not that dramatic. The rest is psychological, which brings me to the next tip. So let's say the first tip for better sleep was to eat what you're supposed to be eating consistently. The second one is your thoughts, right? So when you go to bed, be honest. What do you do right before bed?
Crypto.
You stare at your phone.
My computer. I'm usually on my computer right at night doing some last minute things for crypto for the next day or something like that.
Which is fine, but then you need at least an hour to properly adjust because the blue light is that's why the sky is blue. It gives you good morning molecules. The blue light tells you it's morning, let's do things. So you
Do
need
blue light glasses help, or are these a scam?
um they help now. What doesn't help is the fact that your mind is still there, right? Your mind is still engaged in the crypto, blue light or no blue light. Your mind is still active. So you want you want to find a happy place before bed. This is something that you can create actually. You must know about the mind palace, that memory technique. Just like a mind palace, you can have a sleep palace. You have a happy place that when you want to make yourself go to bed, you spend 5 minutes in your sleep palace. It can be your dream home. It can be something that makes you happy, something that relaxes you, or something that requires you to count. Not counting sheep necessarily, but going through a process. And slowly
Okay.
you'll find yourself drifting to sleep.
Gautam, he's from India. He says he's currently watching this AMA right before going to bed. So, Gautam, you better take some time to chill a little bit before you go to sleep, or else you'll have dreams about me, and yeah, you won't sleep well. So, no, I definitely don't do well with either of those things. I don't have a good diet, and I do not. I don't wind down very well. So those are two things. What would be your number 3 tip? Well, we'll end with 3 tips. I can only do so many things, you know.
Okay, my number 3 tip is start small, just one change. So don't if you are committed to improving your diet, don't just go buy all the vegetables tomorrow and throw away all the Taco Bell. No, just be like, you know what? Today I'm just gonna skip the sauce. Like very simple things that don't require a lot of resistance. Do them very gradual and don't feel like you're missing out or like you're letting go of something. This is, I quit smoking, and this kind of psychology helps with anything. You look forward to the benefits this decision will bring you. So if you decide to give up Taco Bell, first of all, you don't give up Taco Bell, you rid yourself of the Taco Bell. And tomorrow morning, you're like, oh my God, you pay attention. You're like, oh, I think I have a lot more energy. I feel more active. I sleep better. You look forward to these things. So that would be my number next tip.
Okay, no, that's good stuff. Yeah, Johnny says, is this financial advice? And I would say yes. I think if you have more energy, it will help in your finances. I think you'll make better decisions. You know, when your project's down, if I've noticed, like if I don't have enough sleep or not feeling well and a project's down, I get discouraged. I don't make as good of decisions as if, you know, I was my full self, I might say. So I like, if you don't take time for your health today, you won't have health for your time tomorrow, or something like that. Some pithy statement like that. I liked. And then before we move on, one funny story I have about Taco Bell that did make me question my diet decisions. But we were going through the drive-through, and I ordered some tacos. I love tacos. And they told me that I couldn't get a taco because the meat hose was broken. And that made me, the meat hose made me kind of like question my decisions that I was making. So yes, thank you for those tips. I think that's really good. And we do have some questions from the community. Some of them are directed to me. Some are kind of directed to both of us. Are these projects that she mentioned considered DeFi to go along with your 10K blueprint for retiring? So just in case you haven't seen that video, I have to find the blueprint for retiring. So I kind of talk about these different like buckets of projects. So you have kind of like these degen projects that are pretty much a 50-50 shot. You're going to double your money or lose all your money. Then you have like these DeFi projects that are risky, but probably not like long-term plays. Then you have like a little bit less risky that are, you know, maybe getting you 8% a month that will be longer term. And then you have kind of like more blue chip stuff that'll not get you huge returns, but they're kind of more long-term plays. So I would consider like Finvant to be a long-term play. Like I would see that as it's okay to funnel a lot of your money into that as a long-term play. Aleph and Project Europa and Horde, I would probably consider those until they've stood the test of time. For now, I would consider them in this DeFi bucket. Now, if Horde does what it's doing for a year, it might start to move over to this yield nodes bucket of, hey, this has been a long time where it's provided these results, but it is giving, you know, closer to this 25% a month type return. So yes, I would consider most of those as these DeFi projects, and those are a really great way to generate wealth. So like, it's going to be kind of hard for you to get enough money into like Anchor protocol. You know, if you're putting in $100 a month, it's going to take you a long time to generate some wealth. But if you can get 26% a month, like with Horde, then you can start to generate enough money from a little bit where now, okay, I have, you know, $25,000 that now I can start to put into these other projects that might start to actually generate some long-term wealth. So I don't know, Steak Queen, do you have any thoughts on that? Or how do you think through like your long-term strategy as it goes along with this? Are we kind of on the same page, or do you think about it totally different?
No, we're very much on the same page. So I would hold most of my assets in something like DAG, Rune, things that stood the test of time. Finvant, I also consider it a long-term play, and it will become more and more in my less risky category as the project goes along. The fact that they already have their products developed is what separated from projects like Europa, Horde, although it also just launched. The fact that the products are already there, that what they're doing is creating the ecosystem, but they already proved their technology separates them from node projects that right now they have a very exciting roadmap. They have a great team, a community, but you need to see where it goes before you put all of your bags in it. So I would definitely put something substantial in it if you can afford to. Oh,
Oh no,
I
it's
just
dog.
yeah, it's a power cut, and it's okay. I think the universe said it's too much doxing, but you can still hear me, right?
Yes, yep, no, you still sound good. Does this happen a lot
Really?
where you're at? You get a lot of
No.
power cuts?
No, so where I am right now is actually a hotel. So first time.
Well, that is crazy timing. And actually, something just came to me as we were talking. But when we talk about DeFi, decentralized finance, I think sometimes too people forget that traditional finance is also a zero sum game. Like these financial games that we see playing out in DeFi, these have been played in traditional finance for hundreds of years. Like this is not something new with just trading options on things and just money going from here to here. I mean, this is what the banks have been doing with our money for hundreds of years. So the difference is now we get to be a part of it and we get to kind of see the craziness that's happening. So yeah, that's something I was just thinking about as we were talking about DeFi and the different economies. Let's get to a couple more user questions, and maybe we won't go too long. I hope your power outage doesn't go too long for you. But mobilizing good said, as someone who's in like 100 projects, what would you say to people for balancing it all? And maybe this is a better question for Staked Queen because I do not do a good job of balancing it all. I just hired a like a collab manager because I was having too many and things were slipping through the cracks. Where I'm kind of a nice guy too, where I just was like, if anyone wanted to do a collab of any kind or a giveaway, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. And then I started to get kind of burned because I wasn't doing due diligence because I was just too trusting of people. So I actually hired just recently a manager to kind of help with my collabs. But State Queen, how do you balance like your projects and your giveaways and your collabs? Do you have trouble with the management of all that?
So here it depends on people who if you have a lot of money, right? If you have a lot of money, then it makes sense to be in 100 projects because you can put a substantial amount in each. And if some of them go big, then that's great. But if you don't have a lot of capital to start with, spreading yourself out across 100 projects is not really the best strategy. Uh, Now, what's better is to look at these 100 projects and start to trim down to think, okay, maybe two of them provide the same service. As we discussed, we're just shuffling money from each other. Do these projects provide real utility? Do they actually solve a real problem? Do they supply a demand? Otherwise, just trim them down, just get out. Like, and if two projects provide the same service and they are competing, there is value in keeping bags in a small bag in each to see which one wins. Um, but if one of them clearly has a bigger team, better marketing, I would shift attention to that.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful. And actually, I've started to consolidate. I was in too many projects where I started to miss, like I wouldn't pay my maintenance fee for Thor because I was in too many projects and just couldn't keep track of what was going on. So I've started some of my smaller bags that I don't believe in as much. I've started to kind of sell those off to try and, hey, we got to focus on these projects that I believe in more. So yeah, but it's definitely difficult. Grant wants to know if I actually have read all these books, and I would say, I'm trying to see what all's back there. I would say I have read most of the books I own. I'm actually backed off from books. I used to be an avid reader, like I would read a book a day almost. But I learned that I was getting more knowledge than I was actually applying to anything. So I ended up with just all this stuff in my head, but I wasn't doing any of it. So like these sleep things, even that State Queen's been talking about, it's like, oh, I've read a book and like know those things about my gut, and I should eat a different way and things like that. But then I wasn't doing anything with it. So I kind of started to just like think all my reading was maybe not as useful as, like, maybe I should, instead of just keep reading, maybe I should spend more time doing some of the things that I was reading. So there's in Ecclesiastes in the Bible, it says devotion to books is endless. So I've backed off books a little bit. I don't know. Are you a reader, State Queen?
I am a reader when I have time to read a book kind of reader. I think nowadays people just read articles on their phone, and once in a while you find a really, really good book and that grips you. Because we read a lot as a generation. We actually do read a lot. It might not be physical books as often, but I think if we are in the DeFi space, we're all readers, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to function and understand these things.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and that's a really good point. In the crypto space, there's not very many books that would be useful to read. Maybe some like traditional finance books might be helpful, but like crypto's so changing that you're not going to find. Oh no, I think I lost her. Oh no, that's too bad. Well, maybe we should be kind of wrapping up here. We'll see if she comes back. But yeah, let me see. Let me see if there's a few other questions that I can talk about while we're waiting to see if she can come back. Um, do you see development going more towards recreational traditional services in the crypto space, or into bridges connecting crypto finance with traditional services? So where I see we're at in the crypto space right now is we're kind of ending up with the same group of people that are getting into all the same projects. We don't have a lot of new investors. And one of the ways I know that is from if you go look at like the market, I was going to say the market crap, which might be a good way to say it. But the market cap of all of crypto is 1.8 trillion. And 6 months ago, it was 2.8 trillion. So we've probably doubled the amount of projects that there are in crypto. And we've cut almost in half the amount of market cap there is in crypto. So what we end up with is the same people just going into the same projects. And then what we really need to do, and what I want to do with my channel, is start bridging new people into crypto. So, and one of the places we're going to need to do that is in the crypto to fiat bridges. Like getting your money from fiat into crypto is difficult right now. Like Binance is difficult. Crypto.com is difficult. So that's where we need to go. We need to get new money into the space. We need to get traditional finance into the space. So we're going to need some regulation. I'm not a person who thinks there should be no regulation, but there should be some regulation. And let me just check to see if maybe she lost all her internet or something like that. If she doesn't come back here in the next 5 or 10 minutes, then I'll just answer some questions and then we'll hop off for the day. This was a really good talk. It was great meeting her, and I like just meeting people too, because then we have a bridge for future collaborations or whatever. But that's my take on the space right now. Is we're going to need, and for those of you who are frustrated in the space right now, in the DeFi space, I want you to just take heart that I believe we've been in a bear market. The bear market that everyone's been saying, oh, what's going to happen when we're in a bear market? Crypto is going to fall apart. And I think we've been in that bear market since November 7th. Okay, so we're on about almost 6 months of bear market. And so if you're still hanging out, if your net worth isn't, zero, after 6 months in the bear market, then I think that you're in good long-term shape. So I don't know. Hope you can take some comfort with that. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask me before I hop off? I've not heard back from State Queen, so I think maybe she lost. That's crazy. She had a power outage while we were going, just lights all off. But yeah, she's super fun. If you're not following her on Twitter, I definitely think you should. She's one of the more unique takes. And there's not a lot of women in the crypto space for one reason or another. It's just kind of I don't know why that is exactly. Well, I have theories, but maybe we'll talk about that another time. I'm not sure I want to get into that too much. Anybody else have any questions? I'm curious to know Staked Queen's perspective on entering projects and taking profits. Yeah, unfortunately, we won't get that from her. Again, I'm kind of at a spot right now where I'm moving a lot of things. Honestly, I've lost a lot of faith in, well, specifically these degen projects, play to earn games and things like that. Anything that gives over 1% a day, I'm pretty much making sure I take a lot of profit and then moving it this way. I'm putting a lot into yield nodes, but as more people get into yield nodes, I get a little concerned about the future of that. It felt safer when there were fewer people in it. Okay, State Queen says, managed to connect phone to a potato in order to send this. I'm going to tell her no worries, and I'll say goodbye for her. It's kind of wrapping up. But yeah, it was really fun talking and connecting with her. James, are you a fan of Luna? Yes, I do like Luna a lot. So I have a little bit of a bag in Luna. One thing that we're learning about some of these projects. Oh, wait, she might be back. She might be back. She said she connected her phone to a potato. So we'll see if that helps. But we were just talking about Luna. I was just answering some questions that people had. But one thing we're seeing about some of these projects is they're not as decentralized as we thought they were. So like Phantom, I would consider Phantom decentralized, but the founder of Phantom left, Andre, and Phantom is below $1 now. Okay. And so we just have to be careful in this space. Like Luna is one of those where Duquan, I guess I don't know how to pronounce his name. I always just read it. But some of these projects start to revolve around one person. That's one thing I like about Bitcoin is it's not revolving around anyone. So there's not one central figure that is making it kind of, run and all that. So let's see. What do you put your faith in, James? Do you mind sharing what causes people you look up to the most? Yeah. So honestly, I believe in Jesus, and that's kind of what founds and forms a lot of what I do. Even what I do in crypto, I found that I just want to help people. I believe that in the Bible, it says the greatest two commandments, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And the second greatest commandment is like this, which is love your neighbor as yourself. So those two things aren't disconnected. I think what God wants for me is help people. And so I want to help people. One of those ways is if they don't like their 8-to-5 job, I want to help them get out of that. So that's really why I started my channel and what I'm looking for to do. So State Queen, maybe as we wrap up here, we had a question just about your thoughts on entering projects and taking profits. Do you want to talk through those things and then we'll kind of say farewell?
Yes. I'm glad that potato was working. So entering projects, of course, it pays to be early in a lot of the projects today, which in a way is not necessarily a good thing because more often than not, that relies on Ponzonomics. So if a project is solid, it shouldn't matter when you get in. It just matters that you're in. Now, in terms of taking profits, for a project to be sustainable right now in DeFi, it relies on a community that takes profits from time to time what they like. Take what you need. Definitely take profits. Definitely take profits. But if you really want to be in the project long term, take either regular small profits or a chunk once in a while. Be sensible about it, because what we don't realize is that this is a space we all create together, and the values that we encourage in this space are going to affect us after all. It's like when you throw litter down the street, it's your planet. You're going to keep inhabiting that same planet. So, do you want to still live on that planet in 20 years? Do you want to enjoy it? Do you want to breathe the air? Same as with this space, with taking profits, with encouraging certain behaviors, manifesting certain behaviors and values. So that's how I would think about it.
Okay, yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I used to try and take profits based on the price of the project. If it was high, I'd take profit. If it was low, I'd compound. But now what I do, I dollar cost average pretty much everything. So if I want in on a project, if I want to put $5,000 into a project, I will dollar cost average maybe $500 over 10 days or something like that. And then when I want to take profits, like if I want fully out of a project, I will dollar cost average out, just because then you cut down. Too many times I've gotten in at all-time highs and then gotten out at all-time lows. And I found I'd take profits at the low in one project to get in at the high of another project, and just was losing a lot of money that way. So I'm a big fan of dollar cost averaging. It takes the emotion out of it. And I found I'm just not good at timing things very well at all. So I'm a big fan of dollar cost average. And I've mentioned on other videos, I dollar cost average. I actually just went up to $1,000 a day into DAG. So every day I have a bot on KuCoin that just every day puts $1,000 into DAG. And I'm just going to do that while I have the $1,000 to spare. I'm just going to keep doing that and just keep growing that for long term. So that's how I kind of think about it. And maybe well, this is a question for me. What do you think? Do you think drip is at a good entry point? And I do. So I think that drip for me, drip is one of the forefront projects in that DeFi bucket. Okay. So again, when we're looking at this DeFi bucket, drip, I even have it there. I think if drip fails, then I don't imagine much in this bucket will stick around. That's just my take. I think it has the best tokenomics of about anything that's in here. So that's my take. Well, stay queen as we go ahead and part ways. It was great to meet you. I appreciate you hopping in here. Maybe if you had one last, maybe the biggest thing, that's too much pressure on you. What's one thing that you've learned from crypto in the last month that you feel like would be really beneficial for our audience here as we part for the day?
Hello. I just electricity came back. How
There you go.
poetic. Yeah. One thing I learned in the space. I I think I might just by the nature of the questions that have been asked and what we discussed. I will end on some medical financial advice, if I may. This is actual medical financial advice. If you eat, it doesn't have to be breakfast, but the first meal of the day, make sure that it's mostly protein, like the carbs to protein ratio, right, is in favor of the protein. And if it's carbs, it's complex carbs. And you'll notice that you'll make better financial decisions throughout the day. This is actual research done. Simple carbs for breakfast, very poor business decisions and financial decisions.
So you would my Lucky Charms that I eat for breakfast would maybe not be ideal.
Maybe not, maybe not. But one thing that I learned in this space and in science as well is that anyone can learn anything, and it's easier. Everything is easier than it seems. What I would say is don't let yourself get intimidated. You can do it. You can understand. If I can do it, and I had no financial education throughout my life, anyone can. So yeah, that would be what I would end on.
I think that's really good. So, well, you've changed my life because I was probably gonna have Taco Bell for lunch, and now I'm gonna have something else. So I think, yeah, that's you've changed my life. So it's great to have met you here face to face. It's great to have talked with you. Thanks for coming on to my community. I'd love to just kind of stay connected over the years. And yeah, if there's anything I can do to help you or help you as grow as an influencer or anything like that, I'm happy to do that. So thanks for hopping on today.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you, and I've enjoyed this so much. And I enjoy your material in general, and I look forward to your AMA with Finvant as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'll try to get that released. You reminded me, so I put it on my list, like make sure to get that AMA out. So for sure. And audience, I want to thank you guys. Again, we could not do what we do. If there was no one to influence, then we could not be influencers. So we appreciate you guys and appreciate you watching and taking some time out of your day for us as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day or have a great rest of your night, depending on where you're at in the world. Have a good night's sleep. Wear your blue light glasses. Rest your mind before you go to bed. And everybody be healthy. So thank you, everyone.